Hello, everybody. Welcome to the TriStar Gym channel. Today's episode, I am talking about Adesanya versus Alexander Pereira. The fight just happened this Saturday, and it was an incredible battle. I'm going to give you guys my rundown. Guys, please give me those thumbs up. Make sure the sound is loud and clear. I'm going to give you guys my rundown of how I thought the fight went. And then, like usual, we're going to open up the comments and questions, and we're going to go back and forth. Okay, and after that, we'll open up to absolutely anything. We'll talk about fitness, fighting, life, everything under the sun. But at first, we're talking about one of the greatest title fights ever. I know I say that often, but there have been so many great title fights. We have to appreciate them when they come because they're not always there. Alexander Pereira in round one was pressuring Adesanya. Adesanya was following behind. He was following behind, but stole the round in the last few seconds, stunning Alexander Pereira, hitting him at the horn, not after the horn. A lot of people are saying it's after the horn. I don't believe so. Rewatch the fight. Izzy was throwing that left hook. The horn sounded, and as the horn was sounding, Alexander Pereira got hit. It is very difficult to stop a punch once you throw it, okay? Was it illegal? I don't think so. I don't think he should have lost a point. That's why they tell fighters, protect yourself at all times. Protect yourself at all times. Fighters have to protect themselves at all times. Alexander Pereira could not stop the punch. He was stunned already from a right hand. I gave round one to Adesanya. I think we all did. Round two went to Alexander Pereira. Alexander Pereira even scores a takedown. Lots of nice kicking from Alexander Pereira. Lots of nice attacks. Lots of pressure. Failed takedown attempts from Adesanya. A lot of us were asking. A lot of us were wondering, is Adesanya going to shoot? Even me, I wasn't sure. I was like, you know what? It would be crazy if he didn't. Test the waters there. The guy doesn't have a background in wrestling that we know of. It might be a complete bald spot. We've seen him get taken down in the past in his first UFC fight, his second UFC fight. Maybe that's an easy path to victory. And we're going to talk about Adesanya's takedowns. Adesanya does eventually score a takedown, controls the entire round in round three, gets the back, unable to finish, but still showed superior grappling. He countered a takedown, got on top of Alexander Pereira. Alexander Pereira trying a judo trip, missing. Round four, another Adesanya round. Everybody had Adesanya winning. Guys, I picked him to win. I said 51-49. A lot of some guys were laughing. You're only giving 1% chance? Yes, I'll tell you why. 1% more. I'll tell you why. Because Alexander Pereira can put anybody to sleep at any moment, even late in the round. Guys, it's so rare. A man who gets stunned in round one gets the KO in round five. That is so rare. We need to stop a second and appreciate it. It looked like he was a goner in round one. At the end of round one, I wasn't sure what he's going to look like in round two. And I was talking to you guys on the pre-fight analysis where I was mentioning to you guys that Alexander Pereira has a history of having a bad defense. And I thought that's why I gave it to Adesanya. Adesanya's defense is superior. And it was. Ultimately, it was. However, Alexander's offense won the day, not his defense. Okay, his defense was good. It wasn't great. Alexander Pereira, guys, if you watch his Glory fights, even if you watch his UFC fights, he gets his bell rung in UFC. He gets his bell rung in Glory. He does get hit. He's not one of those guys that's super hard to hit. The problem is that he's so durable. What surprised me, he seemed so much bigger than Isreal Adesanya. I want to talk about that later. He was more durable. He was bigger. And he has incredible KO power. In round five, early in round five, still quite early in round five, he gets Adesanya up against the fence. Adesanya tries to do his lean back defense. Doesn't work against the fence. He gets interrupted by the fence. He did his lean back defense several times successfully during the fight. He evaded left hooks with a pull. Okay, when you pull your head back like this, he even turned his cheek. And that punch, that left hook, that deadly left hook grazed him during the fight. He tried it in round five. It didn't work. He got touched with the right hand, then touched with the hook. And then ultimately, he was stopped. Guys, I think the stoppage was fair. I don't think it was obvious it had to be done. No, it wasn't there. It was fair. Some refs would have let it go longer. Some refs would have stopped it. I think it was fair. I have no complaints. And let me tell you why. Because Pereira could have ended, very possibly could have ended Adesanya's career if the referee did not intervene. Guys, if the referee did not intervene, a scissor knee was coming. Guys, the greatest scissor knee I've ever seen in all combat sports, ever, is Alexander Pereira. Actually, he threw a few in the fight, grazing the chin of Adesanya. Okay, not making contact, but getting quite close. In Brazil, they call this maneuver, they call it the pedalada, like you're pedaling. It's an incredible knee from a giant who's incredibly explosive. He throws it incredibly quick. I thought when Adesanya was dazed like that, I thought the knee was coming. If Mark Goddard did not step in, it could have been a serious concussion, broken jaw, broken orbital, fractured skull even, and it's rare, but it does happen. It could have been something that ruined or ended Adesanya's professional career. Okay, so I'm very grateful that Mark Goddard stopped it. Guys, Adesanya fought beautifully. He was brilliant. He was winning 3 rounds to 1. He was losing round 1 and came back with an incredible right hand, left foot combination. You know, a lot of people were writing me, oh, coach, you think Adesanya has great power? He's only TKO'd 2 guys in his last, 6 fights or something like that. Yeah, because he's fighting monsters. He's fighting monsters for 5 rounds. He's pacing himself for 5 rounds. Guys, when you're pacing yourself for 5 rounds, you don't empty the tank. That's what I'm telling you. What Alexander Pereira did was very exceptional. Not only did he get a KO in the later rounds, he almost was stopped in round 1. Usually when you get punched like that, you get hurt like that, your legs give out. It's not easy to generate power. In round 3, round 4, I was thinking, Pereira's slowing down. When he sat down in the stool after round 4, his team told him, you got to finish. Now, I'll tell you something. In his corner, in Pereira's corner, we're getting translation. Guys, I've done fights where they translate for me. I talk in French sometimes in the corner. The translators are not accurate, okay? So don't rely on what the translator said. For those of you who speak Portuguese, I'm sure you might be questioning the translator. You know, you might have heard the Portuguese. I don't know if it came off on the mic very well. But you'll be like, hey, that's not what the guy said. That's not exactly what he said. I can't say that I know the level of the translator, because when they translated me, the guy was getting everything I'm saying wrong. And French-speaking fans out there, you can attest to that. You know that, so many people speak French. That's not what I said. The translator is just kind of like giving a gist, and he's getting it wrong. He's kind of saying generic things. Like, I don't know, maybe he's not hearing it properly, but that's absolutely not a reliable. Maybe it was just me. I got a bad translator a few times, but don't rely on the translation. However, I did hear them say you have to finish. Okay, and it's good advice, because he did have to finish. Now, here's the thing. He's knocking out a guy with a granite chin. Adesanya has been hit by everybody, all the hard hitters, and he's done incredibly well. He's rarely ever gotten hurt. Like, I can't even, he got hurt with Gastelum. I remember Gastelum hurting him, but he's shown that he has a granite chin. Alexander Pereira also landed an incredible head kick. I can't remember what round it was. I think it was round 2 or 3. A beautiful head kick. Maybe even round 4. I don't remember, but I do remember a beautiful head kick landed. He was finding Adesanya. Adesanya's lean back style was good, but not great that night. And Alexander, he was able to capitalize against the fence. Adesanya tried to lean back against the fence. It doesn't work when you're on the fence. Adesanya had some incredible moments, especially lateral movements, some incredible 1-1-2s, so double jabs into a cross. He had some beautiful kicks, pendulum kicks. He had some incredible stuff going. But ultimately speaking, Alexander Pereira was too much for him. I don't think anybody out there is really complaining about the stoppage. The stoppage wouldn't have saved that. If Adesanya wasn't saved by the ref, I think he would have very badly got KO'd. And I'm grateful that it was stopped. Okay, guys, with that said, I'm going to answer now the comments and questions, and I want to listen to your guys' comments and questions on the fight, guys. We are still on the fight. Okay. Looking buff, coach. Carnivore diet working. That's from Joe. Joe, we're going to talk about that later. I'm going to give you guys my update on the carnivore diet. But thank you. Yes, I have put on some extra muscle. And the carnivore diet is very good for that. I'm going to talk about that later. I don't want to change topic, but there is definitely some very positive things with the carnivore diet, okay? Keeping muscle. When you're doing jiu-jitsu all the time, one of the scary things is you don't want to lose muscle. It's an endurance sport. It's one of the things I always feel myself. It's like a uphill battle, but the carnivore diet definitely helps in that. I want to talk about this. Please bring this up later when we open up to AMA. What else we got here? Is it really a fluke when Pereira came back from behind in kickboxing and MMA and knocked Adesanya out? No, it's definitely not a fluke, guys. There are no flukes in fighting. He knows his style. He knows his game. He knows how to beat. He knows he had a strategy to beat Adesanya. Maybe it didn't go his way for several rounds. 3 rounds didn't go his way, but he believes, guys, this guy has an incredible knockout ratio. He believes he can end the fight. He doesn't have to win every round. That's not the kind of fighter he is. Yes, he's won decisions, but that's not the kind of fighter he is. He doesn't care if he's losing 24 minutes of the fight. He still thinks he can win. He has a history of knocking people out, okay? And I don't see that ending anytime soon. He's not the type of fighter. He's not like a Mayweather. Mayweather will give you like 3-4 rounds. He'll let you get ahead, and then he knows how many. He's thinking about how many points he needs to put up on the board. He rarely ever finishes anybody. I mean, especially later in his career, he has very, very bad hands. It's completely opposite to Pereira. Completely opposite. Okay, Pereira is not thinking, hey, I have to win 3 out of the 5 rounds or else I can't win. No, he's not thinking that. He's thinking, I can win at any time. What else we got here? That's what I said. The knee. He was falling and leaning right into the front of Alex. That could have been a catastrophe if not stopped. That's from Rich Finaldi. Guys, I'm having trouble seeing. Yes, Rich Finaldi, you're absolutely right. I think a scissor knee was coming, a head kick, a big right hand, a big left hook, a big uppercut. It wasn't going to be pretty, guys. We would have maybe seen Izzy really get hurt. I'm very grateful that it was stopped. Kamzat getting KO'd if he fights this monster. That's from Boo Rida. Guys, let me tell you something. A lot of the people in the middleweight division are rejoicing, okay, right now. Because a lot of guys think they can beat him. They could just take him to the ground. They have a lot better wrestling than Izzy. If Izzy can get on top of him and hold him down, a lot of guys, I think, are like, Kamzat's going to just get him down on the ground in the first minute or two. I think Alex Pereira, he was given the correct matchups, to get him into a title fight with Adesanya. It's not a crazy thing. The UFC is brilliant, I think it's correct. We got 2 great strikers. Look what a product it gave us. It gave us such an amazing fight, and I bet you they're going to have a match, and a rematch, and if Adesanya wins, there's a rubber match. That's going to give Pereira the time he needs to learn to wrestle, to maybe stop a Shamaev, to maybe stop a Robert Whittaker who's going to shoot on him. Vittori who's going to shoot on him. There's guys out there that can definitely put him on his back. It's not guaranteed, but they can put him on his back. And we saw that his grappling is basic. Okay, it's basic. It's not great. He can get in a lot of trouble with a good top game player. How do you develop movement like Alex Pereira? That's from Green Bean 5. Well, look, I'll tell you something. He's got incredible reach, incredible athleticism. The man grew up in the jungle, don't forget. Then he went into the favela. He lived in the favela, the guy's biography is incredible. I was so happy to see him win. Don't get me wrong. I know I picked Adesanya, but I was so happy to see this man win. Think about this man's life. He was an alcoholic. He was a drug addict. He went into fighting, had a bad loss. First MMA fight, a loss. Got into kickboxing. Got a couple of beatings, guys. If you ever saw his fight with Jason Wilness, the first fight they fought 3 times, guys. Wilness gave him a beating, stopped him. If I remember correctly, he stopped him. Crippled, just kicked his legs out from underneath him. Then he went into boxing. I mean, the guy had a rough road. Not in UFC. In UFC, he had a stellar lightning. But to get to UFC, he had to overcome alcoholism, drugs, favela life. He had nothing. This guy had nothing. And now look where he is. He's the world champion of the UFC. He just beat, arguably, the greatest middleweight of all time. And I think he's going to have a rematch. He's going to make tons of money, hopefully plenty of money so he could retire, regardless of whatever happens after that. Hopefully he becomes a big name. He's an exciting fighter. Everybody wants to see an Alex Pereira fight, whether in Glory or in UFC. Don't forget, he's also 2-division champ in Glory. Guys, I think we could say he's the greatest striker on earth. Pound for pound, he is the greatest striker on earth. I don't think the greatest knockout artist on earth, but the greatest striker on earth. However, in my opinion, there are guys who could take him down and hold him down and maul him. There are guys out there. And he needs time. He needs time to develop to make sure that that doesn't happen, that he's not dethroned too easily. And I think he has maybe 1 or 2 fights with Izzy. If Izzy wins the next one, it could be a blessing. It could be a blessing in disguise. He fights Izzy a 3rd time, beats him. That'll give him a good year to bring his wrestling up to par. Wow, imagine Alex versus Jiri. That's from Young Jo. I think Jiri's a little bit too big, but not out of the realm of possibility. That's something I would tell you is not out of the realm of possibility, because when I saw the size difference between Alexander Pereira and Adesanya, I was quite shocked. I didn't think they would be that big of a difference. Coach, was it the leg giving out that compromised Israel's defense? That's from Mubashar Abbas. Mubashar, good question. As he threw a low kick, it got blocked and he stumbled. But watch the video. I looked at it really closely. He did kind of fell, did a back roll. He kicks Pereira with the leg again. I think his leg was fine. I think he just kind of like, sometimes when you kick somebody and you go shin to shin, sometimes when you get kicked or when you kicked, your foot kind of goes to sleep a little bit. Like you hit a nerve. I'm not sure why. I'm not sure what the biological reason is why, but your foot kind of goes numb. It tingles. So when you put your foot back on the floor, you don't feel it. So you don't get that, like, you're like, where's my foot? You fall down. I've seen it several times. Okay, it's rare. It's a rare occurrence, but I've seen it. It's happened to my students in fight. I've seen it. Believe me, I've seen it. It happened famously when Nordin fought, I forget his name, the Brazilian guy. And the Brazilian guy was coming at him, and Nordin knocked him out. Nordin Taleb knocked him out. Famous knockout in UFC. And guys, it happens, you know. He fell, but look, he recovered quickly. He threw the kick again. His foot was not broken. I don't think it was injured. He looked fine. I don't think that was what caused him to get knocked out. What caused him to get knocked out was the fact that he found himself up against the fence and he couldn't do his lean back defense. So yes, it contributed to bringing him to the fence, but I don't think his leg gave out from under him because of that, is what I'm trying to say. There were some more exchanges, and Izzy wasn't able to get off the fence. He tried to lean back, got clipped. It's very difficult to do a lean back when you're up against the fence. Now we know that Izzy has a particular kryptonite, and easier said than done, but that may be a good roadmap for future opponents to copy. Izzy said it was some sort of nerve. That's from MMA Talk. Exactly. You know, when you kick somebody, whenever you get hit or kick somebody, sometimes you get a buzzing in your leg. It goes a little bit numb. It's not uncommon, but it didn't seem like... I've seen guys' foot go out from underneath them for a lot longer than that. So because he was able to generate power immediately after, I don't think it was an issue. How did Alex get so good so quickly, considering he started at the age of 22? That's from Green Bean 5. Well, look, I'll tell you, he's a genetic freak. Like he lived in the jungle. Think about it. Every day he was exercising. Think about that. He grew up swimming, fishing, hunting. Like while you were going to school, this guy was climbing trees, trying to get coconuts. You understand? He's a phenomenal athlete. He's super imposing. He probably only did this with his life. You understand? So he probably did all sorts of things like physical training because, you know, he lived so poor. He probably played soccer. That's all he did with his life. While you were in school, sitting down 8 hours a day, listening to some guy talk, you know, doing all your childhood activities. This guy was climbing trees, jumping off hills. Like, he's just working physically. So he has such an athletic ability that it's the fast track. His general physical preparation was so high that it's a fast track to martial arts. Now, here's the other thing. He's born with power. Guys, you're born with power. Coaches, we can make you stronger We can make you faster, but we can't make you fast, and we cannot make you strong. It has a lot to do. The number one component of how strong you are is how and where your tendons are attached to your bone. Actually, the Nazis tried to experiment with reattaching tendons on the bone. They wanted to attach them at points with higher leverage. Now, they weren't able to do it. They experimented doing it. The experiments failed. It was too complicated. However, the Germans understood that tendons and muscles, where they're attached on the bone, makes a very big difference in leverage. I think he's just blessed with great genetics for generating power, and he's been extremely physical at a young age. Izzy's game plan was fine. It worked for the first 4 rounds. Alex managed to penetrate his defense in the 5th round. That's from Elias Juarez. I agree. Izzy had a great game plan. His lateral movement was great. His shot selection was excellent. He got hit here and there, but he dealt with it beautifully. He fought like a tiger, man. It's just he made a mistake in the 5th round. He shouldn't have leaned back, not against the fence. It didn't work against the fence. He got caught. And there are other defensive maneuvers that could have helped him survive and avoid getting hit. But he went to his tried and true lean back, and it didn't work this time. Izzy's arrogance might have. That's from Wellness Path for me. Listen, I don't think you can label these guys as arrogant. Okay, let me just tell you why. When you're fighting, when you're in the conference room, when you're talking about a fight, you have to come off as confident. You want to make your opponent lose at the press conference. You got to tell him, look, there's no way you can win. I'm going to beat you at every step. Here are the 10,000 reasons why. Fighters are always trying to convince one another that they're going to win. It's just part of the fight. It's part of the fight. You have to understand, after the fight, a lot of these guys, believe me, are not as arrogant as they come off. Now, some are and some are not. I just don't know Izzy. I don't know him personally, so I can't tell you that he is or he isn't. All I could tell you is don't make too much of the pre-fight talk. It's normal to try to make, you give an allure that you're invincible, that you have no doubt in your mind, because everybody has doubts. That's the thing. Every single human being has a doubt. And you want to project that you don't. And that's a champion's job. That's a fighter's job. You want the other guy to think or believe that he can't win. And that can make a major difference in the fight, a colossal difference in the fight. How can Izzy beat Pereira? Even though Izzy got the best of Pereira in grappling, it seemed to be struggling and his takedown attempts seem labored. That's from Ricardo M. I totally agree. Listen, Izzy doesn't have the best takedown. The takedown he scored was actually off a Pereira attempt. Pereira tried to throw him, and Izzy kind of body lock countered and lifted him and took him down. It was really Alexander Pereira putting himself off balance. Still a very legitimate takedown. However, imagine Pereira in the rematch said, hey, I'm not even going to try to take Adesanya down. Why should I? Just beat him up standing. I think Adesanya has to rework his takedowns. His takedown defense is quite good. His takedown offense was not where it should be if he wants to take Alex Pereira down. It was labored. You're right. There was a major differential. Alex Pereira is not an easy takedown, but there are guys out there, believe me, who could take him down. Adesanya, of course, he's mainly a striker, defensive wrestler, and he's a scrambly grappler. He would be wise to learn a good classic double. A good classic double might do the job, and he could definitely drill it. He's definitely athletic enough to do it. Pereira did it. Pereira showed he had the athleticism. He got it to a single to double. He took Adesanya down, held him better than Yoel Romero could, and Yoel Romero was arguably one of the top wrestlers of his generation. Yoel Romero couldn't do it. Why? Well, Izzy was probably overwhelmed with the striking, not expecting it. Guys, don't forget, the greatest weapon in fighting is surprise. Guys, by the way, I have updated Strong and Stable Knees. Guys, make sure, for those of you who've bought it, make sure to go check it out. There are new exercises put up. The PDF is coming out shortly, a PDF who gives you exact reps and sets and workouts, how to do your reps and sets. Guys, use promo code AB15 and enjoy anything you like on Jiu-Jitsu Club. There are more promo codes in the description. Check it out. Guys, I don't think Izzy can take him down easily, but a good surprising double leg can do the trick. Salam, Coach. Can Khamzat take Pereira down? Us, Coach. That's from everywhere. Guys, I totally believe Khamzat can get it down to the ground. Absolutely. Especially the fact that he's a southpaw. If he stands southpaw and works the southpaw angles, it's not always easy to walk down a southpaw because you're pivoting off a very thin edge. It's just kind of hard to explain verbally, but because when we're in open stance, it's hard to cut off the ring. Khamzat's going to level change, take him down. I have no doubt he can take him down. Khamzat will be really, really wise to work his top game. Make sure that he, has a good finish. Because, look, you don't want to have to take the guy down every single round because Pereira on his feet can knock you out at any moment. So I would really work my top game. Make sure that once you get on top of him, you find a way to sub him or ground and pound. Guys, the Strong and Stable Knees PDF is absolutely free. It comes with the DVD. So all of you who bought it, not the DVD, the video, you're going to get it for free, okay? There's no charge. If you buy the video, you get the PDF. Guys, it's being polished up. I have button pushers working on it. They're going to make it look nice, and we're sending it out. It's a quick reference guide to how to get reps and sets. There's certain concepts, how to cycle your training and all that. We'll talk about that later. I want to finish up Alexander Pereira with the post-fight interview, post-fight analysis. Sup, coach? It feels good to be right. Knew Alex was going to find a way, and damn, it was a competitive fight. Respect to Izzy. He stunned Alex just like in the kickboxing round 2. Deja vu 3 and 0 for Alex against Izzy. Oh, sorry. 3-0 for Alex against Izzy. Guys, I thought Izzy won the first fight, okay? They fought in China. I think the first fight was in China, if I remember correctly. One of the fights was in China. I thought Izzy won the first fight. Now, I'm not going to argue about it, but I really think he won the first fight. Second fight, obviously, he lost, but he was winning before he got lost. He got knocked out. Third fight, guys, he got knocked out. He got TKO'd. In my mind, it's 2-1 for Pereira. And this fight was really close, guys. It wasn't a bad pick. If you picked Adesanya or Pereira, guys, it was a 50-50 fight. Because Pereira is such a great finisher, it's got to be always a 50-50 fight. The guy can finish anybody at any time. He finished Izzy late in the... Not late in the 5th. Early in the 5th. But that was after a war. After losing 3 rounds. Very similar to what Leon Edwards did to Kamaru Usman. Incredible. Coach, do you think Islam could beat Pereira if he avoids getting knocked out? That's from one objective. Guys, no. There's too much size difference. If Islam Makhachev was fighting Alexander Pereira, guys, I hate to say it, but this is a really bad matchup. He's too big. Guys, there's physics out there. There's reasons why there's weight classes. Even if you took Pereira down, Pereira would just eventually get back up to his feet. Like, it's not impossible. Look, if you put them in the practice room and they roll together, I'm sure Islam would sub him. It's just different in a fight. It's not easy to take a guy down who's that tall, that big. With Pereira's scissor knee, I mean, look, he might. It's not impossible Islam gets on top of him and chokes him because he has so much more grappling experience. But guys, 9 times out of 10, it ends up with Pereira knocking him out. Why? Because he's so much bigger, so much stronger. Now, pound for pound, I would pick Islam Makhachev every day. Every 9.8 times out of 10, he's gonna win. Okay, so if you said pound for pound, I would pick Makhachev. Spiderbite 9710 says, I think ultimately styles make fights. Alexander's size and power makes this a tough matchup for Izzy on the feet. In my opinion, Whitaker does better against Alex. That's from Spiderbite. I totally agree with that. I totally agree. I think Whitaker could do better. However, I don't think that's an easy one. I really don't think that's an easy one. Whitaker does have better takedowns, no doubt, than Izzy has. No doubt. In terms of offensive takedowns. Not defensive wrestling, but even defensive wrestling, I would give it to Whitaker. But Whitaker definitely has a better double leg. Like, he will shoot a double leg, and I think he could very well get on top of Alexander. Hey, would you train Pereira for a fight against Whitaker? That's from Jake. Well, that would be really difficult, okay? Because for those of you who don't know, I trained Whitaker for several years, especially early in his career. Me and him were quite close. I love the guy. I think he's a great, beautiful human being. Since then, he moved back to Australia, went on with his life, and of course, he's found a lot of success. It'll be tough. It will be tough. Like, I hate fighting. I hate training fighters to fight fighters I've trained with or worked with for many years. I really dislike it. So I'd have to think about it. I really have to think about it. All right, guys. Let's see here. What time is it here? We've done 30 minutes. Let's do a couple more minutes, then we'll wrap it up. Coach, what are your thoughts about Poirier versus Chandler? Chandler, crazy fight. Absolutely, absolutely love that fight. I thought it was a brilliant fight. Guys, Chandler is so tough. He's so dedicated to the win that he kind of shoots himself in the foot. Like, he's such a ball of fire, man. Listen, there's no such thing as a boring Michael Chandler fight. There's no such thing. There never will be, I think, a boring Michael Chandler fight. He came out there like a bat out of hell, throwing power kicks, power punches, explosive shots, taking risks, just going for it. Going for it. Not thinking about anything but finishing. He just wants to finish. He fought like a lion. Gets clipped. I gave round 1 to Poirier. The whole round, I was giving it to Chandler. Chandler was doing great. Then he gets clipped. He gets rocked. He gets elbowed really, really hard. Guys, I gave the steal to Poirier. Now, I'm not going to argue if you guys see it the other way. Chandler had some brilliant moments, but ultimately speaking, the more damage was done. Even though it was done in a shorter period of time, it was done by Poirier. Especially that elbow sealed the deal. For me, I was convinced he won the round. Now, round 2, Chandler could have scored an 10-8 round. I think he completely dominated. Now, quickly in round 3, Poirier escapes the back, gets on top of him, chokes him. Brilliant fight. Guys, Chandler just went too crazy, too hard, too fast, and got clipped. He was doing great. He had all the tools to win that fight. Different strategy, you could have had a different outcome. In my opinion, it was just a poor strategy. But the guy's a brilliant fighter. He's entertaining as hell. He's probably the most entertaining guy out there. I think the fans love him for it. But if he wants to become world champion, he's got to adjust his strategies. Face pull was insane. That's from King Kamal. Yeah, there was a time where he was kind of like fish hooking Poirier, but I don't know if that was intentional. I'm not in the man's head, but it definitely seemed like he was hooking Poirier's mouth. Sup, coach? It feels good to be right. Oh, I read that one already. Chandler takes too much damage every time. That's from RBC2. That's his way. He's a crowd pleaser. He loves to get, you know why? Because he believes he's bigger, he's stronger, more explosive than everybody. And I think he's right. He's more powerful. He's a Mike Tyson of the division. He's explosive. He's dangerous. However, if he adjusted his strategies, he can get all that done without taking so much damage. I do agree that he does take way too much damage. Hey, coach, why back crucifix is so uncommon in MMA? That's from Leo Liu. Guys, the back crucifix takes a lot of training, takes a lot of time. MMA fighters have so many things to do that it's better to teach them more basic jiu-jitsu. Okay, that's why you guys should check out my advanced basics videos. I have 1 to 8, volumes 1 to 8. Those are the moves that you're going to use in a fight, mostly. Okay, the basics, guys. If you go too complicated, what happens is, if you don't get it right, if you didn't study that position well enough, it falls apart. So you can't study it halfway. You got to go all in. If you go all in, there's so much time. Maybe it would be wiser to practice other things that you need in MMA. Okay, so MMA, the real reason is because it's so complex. As fighters mature, they finally can adopt those games. So you will see it, but only in the more mature fighters. Hey, coach, do you think that the stoppage in Izzy Pereira fight was good or a title a little bit too early? How do you know when the fight should be stopped? That's from Booker W. Booker, I already answered that, so I'm going to answer it in a different way. Guys, it all comes down to health. Can this fighter intelligently defend himself? No, step in. I don't think Adesanya was there. I think he was still intelligently defending himself. He was still moving his head. It didn't look good. It wasn't beautiful. My reason for accepting the stoppage is because something bad was about to happen. His defense was slowed down. He was aware of where he was. You know, when they say intelligently defending yourself, they're trying to tell you, look, don't just ball up in the fetal position and think we're going to let you keep fighting. No. You have to parry, slip, move, footwork, shield in a way that shows that you have awareness of what's going on. I think Izzy did that. He was aware. As soon as they stopped the fight, you saw the expression on his face. He was like, why? He put his hands up. Why? I'm fine. He knew what was going on. However, I think a scissor knee was coming, and it would have been devastating, and it would have been broken jaw, broken orbital, broken cheekbone. Like, we don't want to see that, So I think if you have to step in to save the athlete's health, you should. And concussions are no jokes. They're no joke. He was taking unanswered shots. That's from MMA Talk. Yes, I agree. I totally agree. Any new Juji Club videos coming out? Yes, absolutely. Coming out very shortly. I have Strong and Stable Running coming out. I just filmed that recently. And I have professional kicking. Really good kicking video coming out. It's going to be excellent. It's going to change the game. It's a brilliant system for learning how to kick properly. And you guys are going to love it. Did you notice Isreal Adesanya? Did you notice Israel in the early rounds when he was up against the fence? He would try hold Alex's lead hand. Was that a good tactic for him? That's from Salvatore Veneri. Well, you're right. He does a lot of bizarre things. I don't know if you guys even noticed, but at one point, Adesanya punches his leg. Like, why are you punching the leg? These are all to throw you off his pattern. If you look at Adesanya, he switches stances. What's he trying to do? He's trying to tell you, look, you don't know what I'm going to do next. I'm throwing everything at you. I'm even punching your leg. You cannot predict my next move. He's just throwing up smoke. He's doing things. He's doing 80 different things, 30 different things, 40, 50, 60 different things so that when he throws his shot that he wants to throw, it's fresh and brand new. It surprises you. It's a brilliant tactic, okay? Fighters do that all the time. They do all sorts of weird stuff. They kind of like talk. They point at the floor. They look up. Why? They just want to do something bizarre. They want to take you out of what you're used to seeing. Because when you haven't seen something, it breaks your pattern recognition. It slows you down. It makes you process. It makes you have to think, hey, what is that? Why is that guy doing this? I've seen fighters do all sorts of things. I've seen fighters yell. I've seen fighters jump and roll on the floor. Like, why is he doing that? Well, he's just trying to like break the monotony. Okay, sometimes it backfires and sometimes it comes off as brilliant, And I think Adesanya's just got so many tricks up his sleeve that he just wants to break your concentration. And grabbing the hand is very typical, but that's just another tactic. Some fighters never do it. Why? Because for them, they're overloaded. They don't have that many tricks in their bag. Okay, guys, with that said, let's open it up to any fight, any question, absolutely anything else. I think we've done this fight quite thoroughly. Izzy won't GSP him out of point, take him down over and over again, top control. He won't KO or sub him. He gets beat up by the bigger Pereira. That's from Mika Reynolds. I think what you're trying to say is that he could never eventually develop his game, that he could take down Pereira reliably. That may be right, but I wouldn't take it out of the realm of possibility because he doesn't have to. He just has to make the takedown such a threat that Pereira thinks twice about throwing that left hook. Guys, I love double-legging people when they throw a hook. I think it's such a great counter to a hook. Now, you can't do it every time because it costs too much energy. But having that in your pocket, surprising the guy once with a double leg off a hook, he might think twice before throwing it. Coach, Makachev versus Alex Volkanovski official. Please make a video about that. And just quick prediction, who will win? That's from Luthman. Guys, quick prediction, I'm going with Islam Makachev. However, I will go through their footage thoroughly. And I will do a video on it, I'm pretty sure. Okay, but quick pick, I would pick Islam Makachev. Just joined. So sorry if this was answered already, but what did Paulo Puales do wrong with Hooker in round 1? Guys, I didn't watch that fight thoroughly. I just saw kind of like I brushed through it. I mean, Hooker just crushed him. So I can't get too specific on it. I think Hooker's great. I think he's going to do well at 155. 155, he looks so much better. I think he's going to be in the top 5. He's going to have a title fight. He may even be world champion one day. I really believe the Hooker has tremendous potential. I know he's lost a few fights, but he has tremendous potential. His frame is incredible for 155. I don't know how he ever made 145, but he should definitely do 155. He looks fantastic. Super chat, coach. Did I miss a super chat? Let me see. No, I don't think I did. Hey, coach, I feel that karate-style kicks are underused in MMA. Am I right? That's from Emmanuel 20X. Yes, I think they're underused. I like the side kick and the back kick, guys. I don't like too many other kicks. Now, axe kick and all that stuff, spinning hook kick, I do like as well. Axe kick, I think is okay. It's good. I do it very rarely, but the main, look, guys, I'm actually a black belt in karate. If you don't know, I'm actually St. Pierre's first black belt in karate. Back kick is phenomenal. Side kick is great. I like the push kick, like the maigiri, like the which Thai guys we call the teep or the push kick. I like the variety of kicks. I do. However, I do like to mix. What I think is the best part of karate is the distance control, the footwork. I like to mix boxing, Muay Thai, and karate. For me, that's the ultimate in martial arts striking. Boxing, Muay Thai, and karate. And the distance control, the hands down fighting, I like that. I mix it up. Sometimes I feel that style really crushes people because they've never seen it before. They're not used to it. The blitzing, I love the karate blitzing. These are things that are very advanced, so you don't see it very often in MMA gyms. Why? It's just stuff that's not really well known. Okay, a lot of karate schools are just like, they're banking on the 70s movies, so they're not really fight schools. So they don't really know these tactics. However, if you go to competitive karate, you see the top guys. They're really incredible strikers. Combat karate and all that. Then you have to find a school that has that kind of sparring and that kind of training. But there's so many karate schools that, look, the vast majority of them are watered down schools. They never spar. They just kind of do their forms, what we call katas, just their forms. People get their exercise. They feel good getting ranks. It's not really a competitive environment. They only kind of play spar. If you go to a competitive karate school, you'll find some killers. Okay, so what I'm trying to say is it's just not well known. Coach, why is Pereira's left hook so dangerous? He is knocking people out cold with that punch. That's from Drews. I talked about that earlier. Look, I really believe it has to do with your tendons and ligaments. That's in the New Power program. Michael Cohen gives the top reasons for how you generate power. Guys, this is one reason why I developed my program the way I did. Okay, stability is one of the major factors in power. Guys, I don't look like a strong guy. Okay, if you saw me in the street, you wouldn't think I'm a strong guy. But if we wrestle, believe me, you'll feel like, hey, this guy's really strong. People like when I wrestle, people like, hey, this guy's quite strong. It doesn't. Stability training is huge. Now, stability training doesn't make massive muscles, but that's what we want as athletes. We want to stay in our weight class. Stability training makes for incredibly strong athletes. So look, the guy lived in a jungle. How do you think he developed his strength? Well, he was climbing trees, skipping stones, swimming. He was doing all these natural movements that require a lot of agility, power. He didn't get his strength lifting weights. Okay, now I think he's genetically gifted, meaning his tendons and muscles are attached in a particular way that gives him more leverage. However, I also believe that his natural training, running, jumping his whole life. Think about it. When you were at school, this guy was hunting, carrying carcasses back and forth to his village, carrying whatever, building tree house, whatever he had to do in his daily routine. It was physical. And just these track and field type exercises that he's doing them your whole life will develop incredible amounts of stability. That's why if you look at my program, there are no gimmicks. Guys, I don't believe in corrective exercises. I think corrective exercises are ridiculous. I've never seen a guy build world-class athleticism with gimmicky exercises. It's always fundamental exercises done incredibly well and variations. Lunges, squats, jumps, plyometrics, throws. I really like stability ball, but what do I do on stability ball? I do all the classic movements such as squatting, lunges, bridges. I use Turkish get up. Turkish get up, guys, used to be an Olympic event. It's a staple maneuver that's been forgotten. However, if you look back at the classic lifters, they all did Turkish get up. If you want reliable shoulders, guys, I've been doing Turkish get up for 20 years. I have injured my shoulder maybe in my entire career 3 or 4 times. I've injured my shoulder. I have super reliable shoulders and strong and stable shoulders. I teach you how to master the Turkish get up, and it's super simple. I know some people say, oh, Turkish get up has 14 points. Guys, that's such a waste of time. Turkish get up is not that complicated. People overcomplicate Turkish get up. I have a version of Turkish get up that's more combat. It's more like a technical get up, but I do that on purpose because I want you to learn a technical move that you're going to use in fighting in your exercise. the great samurai, I'm forgetting his name now, Musashi said, let your fight stance be your daily stance. The way you stand, the way you sit, the way you move should be representing how you fight. So if you're going to get up off the floor, you're going to get up off the floor how you would in a fight. If you're going to sit down, you would sit down as if you're anticipating an attack. The way you walk should be as you walk in a way that you're anticipating your attack. Your daily routine should reflect your fight positions. Okay, so Turkish get up is no exception. It is the safest way and best way to build strong and stable shoulders. Throw out all the gimmicks, guys. First of all, a true martial artist doesn't have time for gimmicky exercises. He doesn't have time. Trainers like to do that because they want to make their art seem mystical. They want to make their art seem more complicated than you could do on your own. I think that's a lot of reasons of why they do that. It's a waste of time. For me, it's nonsensical. Coach, why is Pereira's... okay, I did that one. If Khamzat tries to be a badass against Alex Pereira and choose to strike, just like he did in the Gilbert fight, it's not going to be pretty. Khamzat is a problem. Remember when he beat Kevin on the ground in less than 2 minutes? Guys, Khamzat is definitely a problem. If he takes Pereira down, and he could, in my opinion, he could definitely take him down. He would have his way with Pereira, absolutely. I don't doubt that. You heard about Rumble. That's from Jolly M Pulse. Guys, I want to give my deepest condolences to Anthony Johnson's family. I did hear about him. I still don't understand what the cause of death was. I did see some headlines. Excuse me, pardon me. Guys, my deepest condolences. I didn't know him well. I've met him only once in person. We've talked very briefly. He seemed like a very nice guy. However, I do not know him personally, but I still want to extend my condolences to his fans. And I was a fan of his, of course, as well. But to his friends and family, my deepest condolences. I'm very curious to know about his cause of death, however. Could I have a staph infection on my knee? Do you have any tips on recovery, and how long do I wait until I train? Also, can I box in the meantime? AJ, if you have a staph infection, I would really highly recommend you don't take a single moment and go see your doctor. Have him examine it. Or at least, if you don't have access to the doctor, go straight to your pharmacist. Show your pharmacist what you have, okay? You need probably antibiotics, medication, etc. Don't self-diagnose. And stay off the mats completely. You can box, cover it up and box, that's fine. But don't grapple until a pharmacist or doctor tells you how long you need, okay? He has to look at it. He'll give you his best estimation. I think if you want to weight train, that's cool. Go for it. But I think 100% of all boys and men need to train calisthenics consistently throughout their life. That's from Raul Duke. Absolutely. Calisthenics even bodybuilders should do calisthenics. Body weight is super essential, super important. I work from, if you give me somebody who's new to train, I start them with body weight, and then I move them to weights, and then I move them to plyometrics. If you look at Strong and Stable, there's body weight training. And then after that, we move to weights. Then we do plyometrics, with or without weights. Low impact plyometrics. That's the succession you need, because ultimately speaking, you won't transfer all your newfound strength to the field or court or mats unless you hit the plyometric cycle. You have to do plyometrics, and plyometrics are primarily, not always, but they're not primarily, I should say, but they're very well done with body weight. It's very good to do plyometrics with body weight. I like weighted vests, but not more than 10% of my body weight. I like to use kettlebells, dumbbells, Olympic lifting, bands, stretch bands. I like to do plyometrics with hurdles. I like to do every type of plyometric. Super important to hit the plyometric phase. However, unlike certain schools of thought like Speed of Sport or SSL, they only want plyometric. They almost only want plyometric, which I don't think is right. I think you have to build strength with slower movements. That's fine, but just not too much. If you're an explosive sport, keep it about 20%. You will break through plateaus. I feel like if you just do power movements, just high-speed movements, you will plateau. Hey, Coach, why would Alex keep it so late to make weight? He looked huge in the fight. Perhaps he's too big for that weight class. That's from DBK69. Guys, I don't know all the ins and outs about his weight cut. I'm assuming you're probably... He waited a long time to make the weight. He probably, I think I did see a headline that he almost missed. He has a lot of experience making weight. Okay, so everybody does it differently. Not everybody does it the same way. I've worked with many experts that done it differently, got the job done, and the athlete felt well, felt very good. I always tell guys, look, here are different ways you could do it. Which one sounds best to you? Experiment with which one you feel best with. I always tell guys, like, try to cut weight at home. Just cut 2-3 pounds. See how it feels. Do you like bath? Do you like sauna? I know there are other methods. Some people like to get on the Airdyne. Some people like to sweat it out by shadow boxing. Some people like to cut it the night before, have breakfast because they wake up a little light, have breakfast. Some people are like, no, I want to wait till the last minute to cut the last pound. Fighters do it differently. He's very experienced. So I have no problem with him waiting till the last minute to do it if that's how he likes to do it. Okay, guys, I got a bunch of super chats here. Hi, Coach. What is the healthiest way to get through a surprise breakup from a girl you thought you would marry? That's some Ho Shen Lee. Ho Shen Lee's having lady problems, guys. Guys, please, in the comments, give him your best advice. Multiple wives doesn't sound so stupid now, does it, Mr. Ho Shen Lee? With all due respect, if you had one wife leave you, but you have 3 others, what's the big deal? Don't worry. There's a new spot available now. It will make life so much easier, wouldn't it? Unfortunately, you're restricted to only one here in this country. Listen, in my opinion, look, you got to learn from every relationship. Seriously speaking, I'll give you some advice, okay? I feel that we're too emotionally involved. People put their whole life on their relationship. Like, everywhere you look, every love song, every song on the radio is talking about love. Every movie's talking about love. We're fascinated with love, romance, love, romance, love, romance, love, romance, love, 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 love. It's so crazy that if you hang your hat on that, if you build your whole life on that, and then your girl gets up and leaves, you'll have a psychological collapse. Listen carefully to what I'm saying. It happens all the time. It's incredible, guys. I've had students, believe you me, tell me they're suicidal because their girlfriend or wife left them. And of course, I'm sympathetic to that. I can understand. It's painful. It's damaging. It's not a pleasant experience. However, you should never you should never build your life on a person, on a human being. Nobody, absolutely nobody. Because human beings are unreliable. People fall out of love. People change. You could be married. You could have married her. Let's say you married her. You have a great 5 years. After year 5, she goes through a phase. I don't know. Maybe she's into something new. Maybe she's interested in this new way of life, or she has new friends, and now they're interested in something else, and she's changed as a human being. That can very well happen. You always have to be ready that human beings around you will let you down. There's no doubt. Human beings are not reliable. That includes everybody, including me. I don't consider myself to be reliable. I tell my family members, my kids, never rely on a human being. Never build your whole life on a human being. So when that person does leave, you're like, hey, okay, I was ready for this. I understood this. I'm not blindsided at all. You have to adopt this paradigm, guys. Stephen R. Covey wrote one of the great books in history. One of the great books, 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. I've talked about this book many times in the past. I haven't talked about it in a long time, so I'm just going to give you guys a refresher. In the beginning of the book, he says something that many great philosophers and sages have said. Okay, you have to base your life on a block. If you're going to build your edifice, your building, the first block has to be unshakable. Unshakable. Now, I'm getting to your question here, okay? I promise you this is very good advice. The first building block of any building has to be the most robust and unshakable founding stone. If it's not, your whole structure will collapse. Okay, now we're talking about building your psyche. We're giving an analogy here about how to build your psyche. The first stone has to be unshakable. So what is that first stone? Well, Covey says, look, I'm a religious man. I put God. Okay, Muslims, Christians, Jews, all sorts of religion. We put God first. No matter what happens, you always have God. So we have a strong mental character that can never be taken from you. God will never let you down. So we have this strong mental character. He says, look, if you're secular, I know a lot of my readers are secular. He says, you're going to put it on your principles. So look what he says, okay? Now, Stephen R. Covey is not a great philosopher, but he's trying to give his solution. He's saying, look, you're going to give it on your principles. What are your principles? Well, you're an honest person. You're hardworking. That's never going to change. That's always in your control. That you're going to live in a way with these principles, and nothing that happens in your life is ever going to shake these principles because you consider these principles to be self-evident and true to you. Now, I think it's a bit of a weak answer. Okay, if you guys are critiquing it, believe me, I have my critique of it. Because you can also, your mind is not going to stay this way forever. You're going to have ups and downs. You're going to compromise your principles. You're going to have days where you're not sure. The principles themselves, you're going to doubt them. Why do I really believe this? Somebody might come and cross-examine your principles, and you might have all sorts of doubts about which one is better, what not, etc. However, some of you might be saying, well, coach, can't we do that with God? No, not so. Because in Abrahamic religions, we say God is known intuitively, directly. It's not a question of interpretation or logic or scientific experiment. We know it directly. We know it. We were born with this idea, and it's known innately. And one day we can talk about the proofs of these. They're quite easy, actually, to demonstrate. So once we have this experience, it's unshakable now. It's an unshakable found. So then when your girlfriend leaves, you're like, hey, not a big deal. Now the irony of it all, guys, listen carefully. Open your ears here. Is women have a hard time leaving a guy who's has that kind of confidence. The number one thing women are attracted to, in my opinion, feel free to disagree, but I think it's 100% true, is confidence. When a guy is incredibly confident, women are attracted to him. They feel like, hey, this guy has everything under control. He can handle his business. How do you develop this type of confidence? You have to have an unshakable foundation. And that has to do with the psyche. If your woman leaves you and you're down on your knees crying, she thinks subconsciously, in my opinion, okay, this is just my interpretation. She thinks, look, he's weak. Without me, he doesn't think he can get another girl. He doesn't think he can fend for himself. I hold a lot of power over him. And in my opinion, this is unattractive to women. You know, George Costanza said it best. I remember in Seinfeld, guys, I love Seinfeld. Kramer gives him the best advice. He's like, hey, you feel that she's going to break up? George was lamenting. George Costanza, I feel that she's going to break up with me. She wants to break up with me. Kramer tells him, hey, you break up with her. And George has an epiphany. A preemptive breakup? Preemptive? That's brilliant. So he goes to the girl. Look, I got to talk to you. It's not you. It's me. You know, he breaks up with her. Now the girl becomes obsessed with him. She's like, wait, you're breaking up with me? No. I can change. We can work it out. And for the first time in his life, George Costanza's like, hey, I have hand. He has control. He's all happy. He's like, realizes nobody wants to be with anybody that loves them. People want to be with people who don't love them. You might find that funny, but guys, believe it or not, that's the same conclusion Socrates comes to in the Symposium. Famous book written by Plato. Socrates says, look, he defines love, and it's a complicated book, but I'm giving his original definition. He says, love is to want something, to desire something you don't have. Listen carefully. Love equals desiring something you don't have. Well, coach, I have my relationship with my wife and I love her. Socrates would say, well, no, you don't have her future. You have her now, so you can't love her now. You love her future. Meaning, in your mind, the future is not guaranteed. So you desire that future, hence you love her. That's what Socrates told us. Okay, now we can cross-examine him on another day. But he's trying to tell you, look, maybe your girlfriend left you because she thinks she had you in the palm of her hand. She had you too easily. You understand? Women like a guy who's kind of like hard to tame. Now, if you don't believe me, I want you to read a fine book. I'm reading it now, actually. I pretty much finished it, but it's called billion wicked thoughts. 1 billion wicked thoughts. There's people out there, guys. Every Google search you've ever done is all recorded. All your sick and depraved things you typed in on your little keyboard that you went into Google, you went into the search bar, and you typed in this depraved, psychotic, freaky desires you have. Somebody on the other side, my friend, is studying you. Somebody on the other side. You're data, my friend. You're a lab rat to someone else. Now, these two neurologists, they wrote a fascinating book. Okay, they followed 650,000 people. They took all the data from Google and their sample of 650,000 people, which is a massive sample, guys, massive. And they studied, like, what do people want? What are people looking for in terms of sex, happiness, etc. And they they describe a phenomenon that's very modern. Women now are Googling, like the last 10 years, women are obsessed with vampires and werewolves. Why vampires and werewolves? Why are women so intrigued with vampires and werewolves? Well, the authors are speculating. They say because they're alpha males. They're not just alpha males. They're alpha males. What do you mean they're alpha males? Well, they make like, I don't know, who's an alpha male? They make Andrew Tate look like Mickey Mouse. Why? Because they're not even human. They drink blood. They hunt. They kill. And the authors are like, women love men who have those abilities, right? They can harm their enemies, but are nice to the people that they love. Why? They're ultra alpha males. Ultra alpha males. Now, alpha males, they're hard to tame. The girl goes through an episode or two of trying to tame him, pull on his heartstrings, and yes, he loves her, but he's still very difficult to tame. This is because they have a deep inner confidence they can do without. Okay, guys, there's an old saying, the hungry don't get fed. What does that mean? If you're begging, nobody wants to give you. If you don't need it so much, they're trying to sell it to you now. Okay, think about these things. Even when you have a very good partner, somebody you love, you have a great wife, you can never psychologically yield or lean. I like to refer to it as psychological leaning. I depend on you. No, a healthy relationship is interdependent, not dependent, not independent. It's funny because this is also how Stephen R. Covey, the guy just referred to recently in 7 Habits, he talks about interdependence. I think he's brilliant and I think he's correct, very correct. I could do without you and you could do without me, and the door is open. We can either one leave. However, we choose to be together. That's interdependence. Be careful once you start psychologically leaning on your partner, man or woman, especially women, guys. I really believe that if you psychologically lean on your woman, it's a matter of time. The time has started. The timer has started. She's going to leave you. I'm going to say it again, okay, guys? And please take this as like brotherly advice, I know a lot of you guys are younger than me, so please take me as your surrogate big brother here. Women don't like you if you psychologically lean on them. They don't like it. It's deep into their DNA. I don't care what her personality is. I don't care what part of the world she grew up in. I guarantee you, deep down inside, she doesn't like it. Why? Guys, it goes to their natural inclinations. They want somebody. Women subconsciously know one day they're going to get pregnant, whether it happens or not. If they're ever pregnant, they need somebody to bring them resources. If you're leaning on me psychologically, that means you're not strong enough to compete in the world. Guys, this is all happening deep down in the brain, subconsciously. These are her most primal instincts. She's not aware of them. You're not aware of them. Philosophers, we discuss this till we're blue in the face. Why? We observe human beings and we ask, why do they behave this way? Psychologists do it. Philosophers do it. We study, we observe the world. Why do women behave this way? Why do men behave this way? Why do they live like this? We ask these annoying why questions. Why? We ask it for hours on end, for years and years, and we study. We're fascinated. Philosophers are fascinated with these questions. And then we look at society and we feel like, wow, it all makes sense. My friend, Hong Chen Lee, the best thing you can do right now is get your life together. Become more and more independent till one day you meet somebody who also has their life together and you can choose to be interdependent. The greatest thing you can do is focus on bettering yourself and being a moral, virtuous person and amassing resources, not to the sky high. You don't have to, but you should be able to take care of your significant other. That's going to help you with your women trouble. And I tell you guys, I'll be honest with you, you should know everything about women from A to Z in terms of like their psychology, their biology, how to please them in bed, how to be you should know everything. Just like you should know everything about defending yourself. Guys, knowledge is the key. All your troubles have to do with something you don't know. There are books written on every topic. Study. Know everything about women in a relationship. And it's easy. It's not so complicated after that. All right, guys. What else we got here? How much time? We're in an hour in deep, guys. What if I'm a self-hating soy boy? That's from Fentanyl Floyd. Well, Floyd, I don't know, man. Maybe you should quit the soy. Slam coach, 2-stripe white belt. I recently got strong and stable shoulders, and they're super tight even before a Kimura is on. And I think my front delts are pulling me since they're stronger than my back. I'm always sore after practice. Advice. That's from Deaf Guy. Deaf Guy, look at this broomstick mobility training that I showed you in that video. The broomstick mobility training, how to stretch your shoulders with the broom. That's what you need to do. You need to work your shoulders with a broom. You can use a towel. If you don't have a broom available, use your t-shirt after practice. Stretch your shoulders after practice. I also showed you how to stretch your shoulders with the band. You need to increase your mobility. Guys, the shoulder is the most mobile joint in the body. After practice, go through those mobility exercises. Also, the sledgehammer workout is excellent for you. Excellent, because you can do range of motion and stability at the same time. You also have to develop your Turkish get-up. But if you're so tight, even before the Kimura is on, it's a mobility issue. Guys, in the video, I show you how to put the arm behind your back, how to pull on it using a rope or band, how to put yourself in those positions. Extremely important exercise. If your shoulder is that tight, when the Kimura is not even on, tap immediately because you're going to injure your shoulder. Guys, you don't want to tear a labrum. Tearing your labrum is 6 months, man. You want to make sure that you don't tear your labrum. So, guys, make sure, study those. Not because you bought the DVD, you're healthy now. You have to practice the DVD. And, guys, you have to practice it for 6 months for it to make a difference. 6 months to a year. Anybody tells you that it's shorter than 6 months does not know anything about exercise science. To make significant progress, it takes 6 months. We're not talking about skill here, guys. We're not talking about skill. You can make significant progress in less than 6 months. We're talking about physiology. If you're not on steroids, if you're not on performance-enhancing drugs, a training program is minimum 6 months. It would be like saying, hey, I'm going to grow these crops instead of going through the seasons, tilling the soil, sowing the seed, fertilizing, watering, and then waiting for the crops to grow. No, I'm going to grow it all in 24 hours. It doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense. Nature doesn't work that way. There's processes for us to go through. Same with your body, okay? You can't just flip your body from tight to loose in one day. Now, in terms of mobility, you can make great gains in less than 6 months. But in terms of strength, guys, a minimal length for a strength program has to be 6 months. Unless you're on PDs. If anybody gives you anything shorter than that, they're not experts in exercise science, okay? All right, guys, we have some more super chats jumping in. Coach, how do I find a career that will be more fulfilling? Currently working in a bank and hating it. That's from Droz in. That's such a great question. Droz, I wish you would have gave me your age. Look, this is what I want you to do. I want you to draw a circle. Okay? And in that circle, I want you to write down everything everybody's ever tell you you're good at. What are your talents? Maybe somebody told you were funny. Maybe somebody told you were smart. Maybe somebody told you were really strong. Maybe somebody told you that you were very creative. Write down all the compliments you've ever heard. What are your natural talents? When you were a kid, what did people tell you? Not the toxic people in your life, the people that maybe gave you feedback about yourself, honestly. And then draw another circle next to it. But let those two circles kind of interconnect. And in that second circle, I want you to write everything that you're passionate about, what you love. Where those two circles meet. Maybe somebody told you you're really smart. Well, I'm going to use my brain to make a living. Maybe somebody told me I was really funny. Well, I'm going to use my humor to make a living. Maybe somebody told me I was really analytical. Well, I'm going to use my analytical ability to earn a living. What is it that you're talented at? And what is it that you love to do? Does it intersect? Guys, you know what I love to do? I love to think. I love thinking. I know it's really boring and I don't like to bother people with it, but I love thinking. Like I think about something and I spend hours. I'm in a very happy place. I'm thinking about something. It's fascinating me. That's why I read so many books. That's why I listen to lectures. Somebody's going to say something that make me think. That's why I love going to MMA practice. I have to solve this problem. How do we get the guy off his feet and onto the floor? It's something to think about. I love to think. I have pleasure thinking. I earn my living with thinking. Thinking. I think so much. I think people would get annoyed with me. That's why I don't verbalize it. Sometimes I'm thinking about something, I don't verbalize it to the people in my room because I think they're going to get annoyed. Philosophers often are known as being annoying people because they just won't shut up about a topic. I think we have to be very aware of that because not everybody wants to hear about every little thought you have. So I just kind of keep it to myself. And if somebody like-minded wants to have a discussion, I like to discuss. And of course, there are many, many people out there who love this kind of stuff. Many of us are tuning in to have this type of discussion. I like this back and forth as well. Find what you love to do and what you're gifted at doing and reach for the sky. That's my best advice for you. Hey, Faraz, big fan. Do you think leg kicks would have any effect on the MMA guru's dysfunctional leg? I don't know who MMA guru's dysfunctional leg. I don't know what you mean by that. That's from Sam Cardana. Sam, thank you. I appreciate you're a big fan, but it's a pretty cryptic message you're giving me here. On the MMA gurus, is MMA guru somebody? Hold on, let me Google this. MMA guru. Guys, all I know is the inside of a gym. MMA guru. Is that a person? Oh, okay, he's a podcaster. Okay, I assume does he have a crippled leg or a dysfunctional leg? Sorry, man, I didn't get that joke. But let's see what else we got here. Coach, how do I find a career that will... Okay, no, I did that one. Okay. Boom. Okay. Talk about carnivore diet. That's from Joe. Guys, no more super chats, please. Joe, you're the man. I appreciate you, bro. Oh, man, I almost forgot about the carnivore diet. Guys, let me tell you about my carnivore diet. Okay, guys, I'll tell you something. Here's the bad thing about doing jiu-jitsu 8 hours a day, okay, every day, kickboxing. You lose muscle. Why? Look, think about it. If you go jogging every day, you're doing endurance, right? Joggers lose muscle. Why? And it costs your body a lot of energy to keep that muscle on. It costs a lot of resources. You just spend a ton of energy. It's going to take that food to replace all the nutrients you need, but there's not left over for hungry muscles, okay? I'm an uphill battle with retaining muscle because I'm running 3 practices a day. Today I rolled 4 rounds in the morning, 4 6-minute rounds. Then I went home, came back, I rolled. When I say rolled, I also wrestled. Let me tell you how many. I wrestled another 4 6-minute rounds. So that's over an hour of rolling. The rounds at TriStar, they're 6 minutes. Okay. No, sorry, that's not over an hour. But I also did other things. And then I did conditioning. I hit the Airdyne. I'm talking about I did it over an hour of work, okay, easily. With the weight training, it's a lot of endurance work, okay? Now, I was in the gym for hours because if you talk about the drilling and it's a lot of work, okay? But actual live rounds, today was 8 6-minute rounds done in 2 sessions and plus my Airdyne work. So I'm over an hour, okay? Guys, that's a lot of endurance work. How do you keep the muscle on? Guys, I found the answer. Carnivore diet. I've put on muscle. I have good and bad to say about carnivore diet, guys. So stick with me here. I've put on muscle more easily than ever. That's such a major plus. Guys, it's such a major plus. Why? I'm 42. I'm turning 43 shortly. They say at 40, you're supposed to start losing muscle. Thank goodness. I don't think I have. Guys, I'm the type of guy, like, I read, like, what happens to your body at this age? What happens to your body at that age? What should I be looking for? How do I avoid these pitfalls? I'm one of those guys. That's my whole, I'm big in believing you have to live the healthiest body and the strongest, most informed mind you can develop before you die, okay? The carnivore diet put on muscle more easily than ever for me. I'm not a muscular guy. I'm not trying to claim I'm the most muscular guy. But I can tell you, I know how much muscle I carry. I have to work really hard on the weights to keep muscle on. I'm not one of those guys who touches weights and their muscles balloon. No, I work really hard, guys. I do kettlebell, squats, bench, lunges. I do it all. Band pulls, everything. I work really hard to maintain muscle, and build muscle is really difficult for me. However, I've been doing carnivore diet and the muscles started with doing less weights than usual. I've been hitting more endurance these days. The muscles just packing on. Okay. Now, again, I'm not saying I'm a bodybuilder. I'm saying for me, for an endurance athlete, for a guy who's doing my sport, putting on muscle the way I did on the carnivore diet has been very, very positive for me. Not that I'm a huge muscular guy. I know you guys are like, Coach, you're not muscular. I get it. The size of my legs are bigger. The size of my back, the size of my chest, the size of my arms are bigger, more muscular. However, when I was on the carnivore discussion, when I was talking to the carnivore MD, Paul Saladino, he told me I can eat as much fruit as I want. Okay, and I had reservations about that. I think fruit can make you fat. And we talked about dates because I love to eat dates. I find that's the one fruit I can work out on. If I have fruit such as apples or oranges, I don't feel I have enough carbs to finish the practice. Like, I feel like I start off fine, then I quickly get tired. Like, because, if you run out of carbs, you're processing fats for energy. It's very difficult. For power sports, for explosive sports, it's very difficult. Okay, you will get tired. So I need a high level of sugar. The problem with fruit, how I understand it, guys, I'm not a nutritionist. Because the thing is, I gained fat. Guys, on the carnivore diet, again, it's the Paul Saladino version, because if you eat only meat, I guarantee you won't gain fat. Guys, I will guarantee you. If you only eat meat, you're going to lose fat. It's very difficult to overeat meat. I would say it's impossible. Impossible. Okay? Now, I'm talking about for gaining fat. Okay? There are other issues. Some people believe you're going to get gout or other diseases. That's a topic for experts to discuss. Okay? I'm talking about body composition. If you only eat meat, because meat is so filling, it's almost impossible to overeat. It's so satiating. However, when you mix in fruit, that's the danger. I don't know if you guys remember, but one time I was analyzing Liver King, and I said, guys, Liver King's obviously on juice. Then we talked about his diet. Look, he drinks syrup. Guys, if you eat meat and syrup, you're going to spike your insulin. You're going to gain fat. It's pure sugar. It's pure insulin. I think I got more muscular, but because I overate fruit, and I think Paul Saladino doesn't eat as much fruit as I do. That's why for him it works. I had to modify the diet is what I'm trying to say. I had to start cutting the sugar. Guys, I went with the experiment. I got more muscular, but as you guys know, I measure my waist. For those of you who tune in all the time, I measure my waist. I don't look at the scale as much as I look at my waist. If my weight stays the same, but my waist gets smaller, I know I'm burning fat and gaining muscle. I'm going to say that again, okay? Suppose you weigh yourself on the scale and you weigh 170, and you've been training really hard, and you've been eating well. Let me start that again, okay? Let's say you start a new training program. You weigh yourself on the scale, you weigh 170. You train for 3 weeks, you come back, you weigh 170. You're like, wait, what's going on, man? I put all this effort. I thought I'd lose weight. Well, you might have lost 2 pounds of fat and you might have gained 2 pounds of muscle. The scale is not telling you, it's not reflecting all the great work you did. However, measuring your waist will, okay? Measuring your waist is really simple. Find the thickest part of your waist and measure it. Measure the thickest part of your waist, and that's how big your waist is. Now, I'll tell you, my waist is always 32. Since I'm 18, my waist has always been 32. I ate dates. I ate honey, like I was told. I gained muscle. I gained size. I gained strength. But my waist also grew. It grew, embarrassingly enough, to 36 and a quarter. I knew it was growing. I was like, look, let me try. Guys, I eat too much sugar. Too much. And I don't think Paul Saladino understands how much I love honey and dates. I was eating for breakfast like 15, 20 dates. That's way too much sugar, guys. There's 37 grams of sugar in a single date. 27 grams. Actually, let me double check that. I think it's 37. Let me double check that. There's a lot of sugar in dates. 63 grams in dates now. 63 grams. Okay, I was pretty close. That's way too much fructose. Guys, fructose is stored in the liver. Your liver can only carry about 70 grams of fructose. After that, it's spilled over to fat. That's what happened to me. I'm sure he has some fruit. He doesn't eat fruit like I do. I eat too much fruit. Now, guys, I cut the fruit. I switched it for potatoes. Potatoes, it's the carbs I need minus the fructose. I'm a big believer that fructose has to be kept at bay. You need very little fructose. Guys, I measured my waist in, it's been only like 10 days since I took out the fructose. My last time I measured my waist was 33 and a quarter. Next week, it'll be 32 and a quarter easily. Then 32, then 31.5. That's where I usually stop. I don't go further than 31.5. That brings me to 9% body fat. I have no doubt in my mind that in a week or two, I'll be at 32 inches. Now, I tried an experiment, guys. I tried to eat as much fruit and as much meat as I like. The good, I got muscular. The bad, I feel like I put on fat. I ate too much fruit. Now, if you ate only meat and oranges and apples, I think you'd be fine. I think you get lean. I think it works. The diet will work for you. However, if you're an endurance athlete, if you need a lot of carbs, I don't think, this is where I disagree with the Paul Saladino version of the carnivore diet. I don't think the best carb is fruit. I think the best carb is the potato. So I would recommend, this is what I'm doing now. I've shifted my diet. I've slimmed down already. Okay. But I want to maintain those muscle gains. This morning, I ate potatoes with eggs. Boiled potato, it lowers the glycemic index. A little bit of olive oil, some salt with eggs. Okay, I'm big in eggs and meat. Then I came home. I had a steak. Guys, I love steak. Carnivore diet. I get to eat what I love. Then I had keftaneye. Keftaneye is like raw meat. Lebanese, we eat raw meat, guys. Guys, I really recommend you guys try eating this great delicacy. It's called keftaneye. It's a beautiful minced meat. Of course, you have to get it from a good butcher with onion, parsley, some herbs, some spices. It's incredibly delicious. I had that. Then after that, I carved up some potatoes, went to practice, had a great practice, full of energy, feeling good, super healthy, super happy, satisfied. And then I don't eat after that. I stop eating at 6. So I'm also fasting, guys. I'm eating from 10 in the morning to 6 at night. After that, I don't eat. So I have an 8-hour eating window. For me, it works. It's super easy. It's like carnivore for athletes. Guys, once in a while, I'll throw in a dessert. I'll have like a chocolate or something. Why? Because I can burn it. I'm going to practice, but I won't eat at night. At night, this is all I consume, guys. Ice water. Just some ice water. Tomorrow, I'll wake up. I'll feel great. Eat breakfast. Guys, the other thing about carnivore diet, it really helps with recovery. The two things I loved about carnivore diet was one, muscle gain, which has always been difficult for me. I worked really hard to maintain my muscle and build muscle. Really, really hard. I don't have to work so hard anymore. I just eat carnivore and the muscle is there. If I do a little bit of lifting, my muscles, like I really hope to continue for 6 months. I think in 6 months I'm gonna add more muscle than ever and have less fat than ever in my life. I think I'm gonna reach my peak in terms of body composition in 6 months from now. Okay, because I've never eaten this much flesh food. It's really, he explained it as bioavailability. He says, look, getting protein from whey. Guys, I've eaten this much protein before because I've always followed what they've told me. You need a certain amount of protein. I've done it, but I did it through whey protein. Meat is superior to whey protein in my experience. He told me that, and I had never heard that before. I'd never read it anywhere. So I said, okay, let me try it. He was right. I get at least 100 grams of protein a day. Getting 100 grams of protein a day from meat is very different than getting 100 grams of protein from whey protein. In my experience, it wasn't the same. When I take whey protein, I put on some muscle, but not like this. This has made me a real believer that the carnivore diet has a place for increasing muscle mass. It's massive. It's really important. I eat eggs, meat, and now potatoes. And I think it's excellent for athletes who are in a sport like mine. Okay, guys, I hope those are some helpful tips for you guys there. I'm just going to finish up super chat here. Coach, I'm 22 years old. Too late to start BJJ? If not, what do I need to do before starting? Like improve cardio, etc. Ali Taladar. Ali, if you're serious about getting good at jiu-jitsu, go get all 8 of Advanced Basics. Volumes 1 through 8. It's about 10 hours of video. Study those. Go to your gym. Roll. If you train for 6 months intensely, you could reassess your talents and aspirations in jiu-jitsu. My trainer started at the age of 27 and today is regarded as the greatest grappling coach ever. It's not too late. But are you in the next gym? I don't know. You have to go do 6 months, immerse yourself, and then reassess. If you have a passion for jiu-jitsu, continue. If you don't, pivot, do something else. But I highly recommend you get my Advanced Basics video. They're thoroughly well done. They will put you on the fast track to excellence. We have at TriStar, guys, we have the best beginners program, I think, in the world. 6 days a week. Basics class, 6 days a week. What are we learning in the basics class? Those 8 volumes, Advanced Basics, that instructors only teach what's in the volume. Instead of getting your blue belt in a year or 2, you can get it in 6 months. You can crash course it. Here's the things you need to learn. Here's the videos. The teachers are doing the curriculum every day, Monday through Saturday. It's being taught. The classes are packed. People love it. They enjoy it. It's brilliant in terms of developing people from white belt to blue belt. It's the fastest way, in my opinion, I've ever seen, and I love it. Why? Because we have so many more training partners. Every 6 months, we have new guys on the all levels mat. They're rolling. They're developed now. We have new, fresh training partners, and it just keeps the gym vibrant and alive. I'm 6'3", 21, 170 pounds. I'm a Waco kickboxing national champ, wrestler in high school and blue belt from Brampton, Ontario. I'm saving to move to Montreal and train under you. Am I too old? Also, I have fluid in my knee. Help. That's from, I won't say his name. Let's just call him Ball 2006. How old are you? You said 21. No, you're not too old, my friend. 6'3", 170 pounds. Wow, it's very impressive. No, we can do a lot of work with you, my friend. Especially if you're a Waco kickboxing national champ. I can definitely keep you on your feet, help you learn how to be on your feet and defend yourself on the ground. That's absolutely quite easy for us to do. You have fluid in your knee. Well, I will get that drained. Go see somebody to get that drained. Get that out of your knee. Don't train. Don't spar until you get that fluid out of your knee. Your knee is compromised. Guys, if you have fluid in your knee and you do any live sparring, you're begging. You're begging for an injured knee. Do not compromise your knee. You can hit the bag, you can shadow box, you can do your conditioning. However, do not go live. Do not spar, do not wrestle, do not grapple until your knee is back to normal. Okay? Listen, my man, Mr. Ball 2006, I really look forward to your visit. You know you're not too old. And if you really are 6'3" and 170 pounds, you could do a lot of damage because that means you'd be fighting at 155. And at 6'3", my friend, if you're already a seasoned striker, I'm really highly confident I can take you extremely far. So I look forward to your visit. Are you still going to get knees over toes on your podcast? That's from O.B. Rin. He doesn't want a podcast. He says he wants to get together and show me what he does. He doesn't want to tell me on a podcast. So hopefully we get together somehow, some way, sometime, and we do a video podcast and we kind of demonstrate what we like to do. Guys, I have no problem with knees over toes, okay? I'm going to explain to you guys what my philosophy is and how it compares to his, okay? Not that I'm an expert in his philosophy. Look, knees over toes is not bad. Let me explain what I mean, okay? It's bad sometimes and it's good sometimes. When you do a double leg, does your knee go over your toe? When you run, does your knee go over your toe? The answer is yes. The answer is yes. I don't do knees over toes in the weight room, but I definitely do knees over toes when I do plyometrics, when I run, when I shoot, when I grapple, when I kickbox. I'm getting so much knees over toe action I don't need to go in the weight room and do it. I tell people, don't do knees over toes when you have a load on your back or for high reps. Think about it. Imagine you go running, you did knees over toes, then you go in the practice room and you do knees over toes with weights. And what's going to happen to your patella? You're overusing it. Now, some people, let's say you're sitting on a couch, you're like, hey, I'm going to get in shape. I'm going to get this knees over toes program. And you do knees over toes and you do a mild amount. Of course you're going to feel better. You went from sitting on the couch to exercising. Of course you're going to feel better. Oh, my knees never felt better. Yeah, because you exercise them. Guys, when you exercise your body, your tendons get stronger. Okay? It's normal. You feel better, of course. What I'm talking about is if you're an athlete, you're already doing so much knees over toes. If you're a tennis player, your knees over your toes all the time when you're zigzagging back and forth. Don't go in the weight room and do knees over toes. It's redundant. It's excessive. You don't want to do it with a load on your back. Guys, what is the number one injury for Olympic lifters? Look this up. It's patella injury. The ligament in front of your knee. Why? Because they throw a load on their back and they go knees over toes. It's not so in powerlifting. Okay? And powerlifting is squat, bench, and deadlift. Why? Because most lifters don't go knees over toes. Most. Now, here's the other major issue, guys, and nobody can argue against this. Here's the other issue. One, it's redundant. You don't need it. Athletes don't need it. When you wrestle, you've already trained your knees over toes. When you go in the weight room, don't do it again. Let it heal. Let it heal because you're going to be doing more double legging and wrestling tomorrow. Don't go in the weight room after and create more inflammation there. The other thing is, if you lift weights with your knees over toes, you're learning to torque from your knees. When you go knees behind the toes, you're learning to torque from your hips. We have studies about this. It's conclusive. Okay? Now, if you squat knees behind the toes, your hips have 1,000% more torque. Listen to what I'm saying. You're involving your hips 1,000% more in torque. Guys, what do you want to develop in an athlete? It's always the glutes, hamstrings that are the weakest link. We're always trying to develop the posterior chain. Always. That's what makes you powerful. That's what makes you explosive. The glutes and hamstrings. That's where power comes from. The posterior chain. If I go knees over toes, I'm squatting and torquing from my knees. I'm working my quads. I'm working my calf. Those are not the prime movers. Those muscles are made to assist the hips. The hips, guys, are the main engine block. Now, of course, we do exercises to support that. That's why I like standing on the ball. Now I'm really working my stabilizers. But when I lift weights, when I do something for power, I'm torquing from the hips. If you're torquing from the knees, you're never going to develop world-class athleticism. I'm sorry to tell you. It makes no sense whatsoever. Nobody jumps from their knees. Everybody jumps from their posterior chain. Glutes and hams. I mean, look, I'm okay when people squat as long as their hips go down first, and then it's a bit complicated. I have to demonstrate it, but I think jiu-jitsu practitioners, martial arts, don't do any knees over toes in the practice room because your knees are already inflamed from all the grappling. They're already inflamed from all the double legs. They're already inflamed from all the knees over toes you're doing in your sport. Don't go in the weight room and beat them up some more. You're going to get injured. Guys, I have one of my students. He walked up to me a year and a half ago. Told me, Coach, I want to do the knees over toes. Even though before I ever came out with strong and stable knees, I was always preaching, don't do knees over toes in the weight room. And to be open-minded, I told him, look, and he was a very good prospect of mine. I actually did a video with him on this channel. I said, look, do it. I want to be open-minded. Tell me how it goes. Maybe I'm missing something. Guys, to this day, he can't grapple. I'm not blaming knees over toes, but I'll tell you something. He was healthy before. He was a purple belt. This kid was going to go on the world stage. I've been training him since he's 16. He was going to make it. In my opinion, he was going to make it. Very talented kid. I used to roll with him regularly. He was one of my favorite training partners because he moved so well. He understood the game. And all of a sudden, he's doing this program. Now he has knee pain. The knee pain developed into him walking on crutches for 8 weeks. Guys, Nobody could help him. I called in the big guns. I even got PhD Kelly Starrett involved. I got orthopedic surgeons involved. The orthopedic surgeon told me, and I know him personally, his knee is a mystery. That's what he told me. I got every guy under the sun, physiotherapists, orthopedic surgeons, PhDs. Heal this kid. Somebody heal this kid. Nobody can do it. We're like, his leg is atrophying. We don't know what happened. We don't know what happened to his knee. We don't understand. His ligaments are intact. His muscles are atrophying now because he can't move his leg. What happened to his knee? What's going on? There's MRIs, MRI with the dye, orthopedic. Like, everybody's trying to figure it out. Literally, the doctor told me, and he's a good friend of mine. I trust him. He's one of the best surgeons in the world. He's like, his knee is a mystery. Even we thought maybe it's psychological, which it's not. It's not. Definitely not. What happened? Well, he experimented with something that doesn't have a track record. Guys, with all due respect, this is unfamiliar territory. We don't have an excessive amount of data. We don't. It's experimental. When you do something experimental, we have no idea what's going to be the result. Is it because of that? Is it not? I personally think he would have never been injured if he didn't do what he did, if he didn't go on that program, personally. And I hear people talk about this program all the time. Fine. I have a different of opinion. There's no insult here, guys. I'm not attacking anybody. I respect everybody. I just feel that I have to be honest. I have to be totally honest. You know, St. Pierre told me, look, I like the sled pulling. I said, yeah, sled pulling is fine because the load is on the ground. Guys, St. Pierre, he does a little bit of pulling the sled. I said, that's fine. That makes total sense. The load is on the floor. It's not on your back. Yes, your knees over toes, but the load is on the ground. I think sled pulling is fantastic. Guys, I just did a recent video where I'm running with the band. I'm doing band sprints. I run backwards with the band. That's exactly like sled pulling, except you're using a band. Okay? There's nothing wrong with going knees over toes if the weight is not on your back. No problem. Now, if you do knees over toes with a load on your back and you do these exercises, they're experimental. We don't have 10,000 people who've done it over generations. We don't have, look guys, if you follow what Olympic coaches have done, then you have a tremendous amount of certainty that these are tried and true methods. Why? They've been tested at the highest level of competition. All the bad exercises were weeded out. Why? Because they crippled the athlete. They made the athlete weak or crippled him. Well, somebody was the guinea pig and he paid the price and we learned the lesson. Now somebody brings something innovative. We ask them, where's your track record on this? How do you know this works? And he points to himself or anecdotes. We can't trust that. We can experiment with it, but we can't trust it. I'm telling you, everything you'll find in the Strong and Stable program is tried and true. It comes from a history of fitness. I will tell you, in Strong and Stable Back, in my opinion, the best video ever done on back, ever. I draw my experience, my program on gymnastics, ballet, martial arts, karate, etc. The samurai used to wear 60 pounds of armor. Think about that. I want you to put a vest on of 60 pounds and walk around with it all day, 24 hours a day, never taking it off. Samurais could not take off their armor. Only 2 reasons you're allowed to take off your armor. One, during war, you can only take it off. And wars last years, guys. You can only take your armor off for 2 circumstances. 1, lovemaking. 2, bathing. And even in bathing, usually they didn't take off their armor. Okay, they would not take off their armor. You're not allowed, a samurai was not allowed to take off his armor, ever. The samurais understood that if you didn't stand like this, if you didn't point your shoulders away from one another, if you didn't sit in the lotus position, your back would give out, your knees would give out. They understood proper alignment. They had to, because the guys who hunched their back were crippled. If you wear 60 pounds on your body all the time, 24 hours a day, believe me, if you're out of alignment, you will be injured. These traditions are tried and true. I teach you guys in the Strong and Stable Spine, a Strong and Stable Back, how to elongate your spine. This is a very important element, decongesting the spine. Alexander Plus techniques. Guys, Alexander Plus technique is over 150 years old. The Alexander technique is over 150 years old. I teach it in the program. I call it the Alexander Plus because I give you my own little twist, okay, which is also something very highly reliable. Guys, knees over toes, I'm sure is really good. If you're not in combat sports, it might be good for you. But believe me, you combat athletes, if you do knees over toes, in my opinion, you are flirting with injury. That's just my opinion. Guys, basketball players, for me, basketball is like a warm-up. When I used to wrestle with the Olympic team, we used to play basketball to warm up. No wrestler ever got hurt playing basketball because in wrestling, you need a 9 on 10 in stability. Basketball doesn't require as much stability in the knee as in wrestling. Guys, in wrestling, our whole purpose is to grab you and lift you and throw you on the floor. You're bouncing up on your leg and we're trying to actively throw you on the ground. And in basketball, there's nobody's weight on top of you. It's a very, look guys, I have nothing but respect for basketball players. They're phenomenal athletes. They're just a different type of athlete, okay? I'm not here trying to poke fun at basketball players. They're phenomenal athletes. I have tremendous respect. But in terms of stability, the knees are not comparable. I could play basketball for 24 hours straight. I will not hurt my knee. I could run up and down the field. I will never, guys, I swear to you, I can almost guarantee you that I will never injure myself playing basketball. And I play basketball for fun. I suck at basketball. I'm totally horrible. If you guys saw me play basketball, you'd be like, Coach, that's not basketball. That's like street ball. Yeah, I play street ball. However, that's how wrestlers play basketball. We just kind of like shove and rough. We're rough and tough and we travel and we don't care about the rules. We just want to get the ball in the basket. It's just a different world. When you get on the mat, it's a whole different world. And of course, we're leg lockers at my school. We constantly leg locking each other. So you have to have super robust knees. Guys, in strong and stable, we take you from whatever level you are at now to 9.9 level of stability. Mixed martial arts is the most dangerous sport in the world for your knees. Jiu-jitsu is very dangerous for your knees compared to other sports. Make sure your knees are super healthy. In my opinion, knees over toes, it will create inflammation. It's redundant. You're already doing so much knees over toes. It's a recipe for injury. Coach Zahabi, making all the wrong decisions and getting brain damage early on would basically be DJ Khaled. That's from Tuck City. I don't know what you mean by that. I don't think I have brain damage, but thank you for your assessment. Hi, Coach. Appreciate your generosity with your time and wisdom. Wish you and yours all the best. That's from Mihir Kumar. Jazakallahu khair. Thank you very much. I'm not sure. That's 600. I don't know what currency that is, but I appreciate it greatly. And very appreciate the kind words, my friend. You're a gentleman and a scholar. Dagestani basketball. That's from Ray Dog. Yes, absolutely. It's rough and tough, my friend, Dagestani basketball. Okay, guys, I appreciate it. I'm going to do one or two last ones here, and I'm going to call it a night. Twerk from your hips, not from your knees. Coach Zahabi. Yes, twerk. Torque, boy. Torque. If Izzy loses again to Pereira, where do you see Izzy in all-time middleweight ranking? That's from Jay-Z. Guys, right now, I would tell you the greatest middleweight of all time, it has to be Anderson Silva. Even though Anderson Silva lost to Chris Weidman and all that, I still think he did more. Okay? He did more in the middleweight division. Now, Izzy was a candidate to surpass Anderson Silva. Guys, I was there when Anderson was at his peak. Guys, he was bigger than Adesanya. His name was bigger. The awe factor was bigger. Guys, I love Adesanya. I have tremendous respect for him. I think he's a brilliant martial artist. He has over 100 wins. The guy's a genius. He's one of the greatest of all time. He's a living legend. Still, Anderson Silva had a greater mystique. Still, he had a greater mystique, guys. He had bigger, better finishes, like more stunning finishes. Even though he had a similar issue, he got beat by the same guy twice. He lost to Weidman twice. The second one, he broke his leg. Some people think, it was like not really a win. I think it's still a win. No doubt, it's still a win. He lost to Weidman twice. Whether he loses to Pereira once or twice, he still lost. He got TKO'd. He lost. He fought beautifully, but he lost. I still think Anderson Silva had the greater mystique of the two. He is, in my mind, the greatest middleweight of all time. But guys, we don't know. Adesanya is not done. Maybe he comes back. He beats Pereira. He surpasses everybody in his generation, and he beats the next generation coming up and retires. And then he's the greatest middleweight of all time. Could be, guys. The jury's still out. We don't know how Adesanya's career is going to end. But right now, I would still place him second, only to Anderson Silva. Would Alex Pereira beat Khamzat? That's from Alex Chu. Not right now. I don't think so. Not right now. Coach, I called the finish for the fight last stream. Leaned back against the cage, lined up the left hook against his lean back. Blessings to you. That's from Samuel Cristano. Yeah, well, you know what? Actually, I do remember somebody telling me that. Oh, he's going to try to lean back, gets the cage, he's going to get clipped. If that was you, Samuel, good job, because I didn't think Adesanya would get tied up against the fence. Now, think about it. How did he get tied up against the fence? He threw a kick, stumbled, did a back roll, and then ended up on the fence. Guys, that was a highly unlikely sequence of events. Throw a kick, your leg probably goes a little numb, you stumble and back roll, and that's how he gets you to the fence? Man, I don't know if that happens twice, but I won't say won't happen a third time. He's knocked him out twice already. What a turn of events. Okay, guys. Let's finish up on one last question. Guys, no need for super chats. Just put them in. I'm going to finish on one last one. We've been going an hour and 46 minutes long. Another fun and great podcast. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Coach, where from Lebanon are you from? My father is from Beirut. So I'm not from, I'm born here. I'm originally from Lebanon genetically, my heritage. But I am born and raised in Montreal. Okay, guys, let's see what else we got here. Coach, see you soon at TriStar. That's from Ali. Yes, I look forward, Ali. Make sure to let me know that you're a listener. How's your new diet, Coach? Rewind this episode. I talk about my diet at length. Please. Coach, do you let your kids use TikTok? That's from DBK. Well, much to my surprise, I found out that my kids do have TikTok accounts. Guys, I don't even really know what TikTok is. Like, I see TikTok videos on YouTube and I find it like disturbing. However, I talk to my kids regularly and I hope they're using good judgment and I'm not sure exactly how TikTok works. Guys, I find all this social media too much. Like, I like YouTube. I like a little bit of Twitter here and there. Instagram is okay. Like, I have enough social media. Do I need TikTok? Like, TikTok's for the younger generation. Okay. Maybe TriStar needs a TikTok account, maybe, and we hire somebody to handle it so that way we can share with them, the TriStar brand, whatever. Yeah, maybe that's coming in the future. But me personally, I just like Instagram, Twitter, YouTube. That's plenty for me. That's already too much. TikTok is all women dancing. That's from Dan H. Really? Delete them now. The Godfather tells me, delete them now. Guys, if I delete it, they're just going to take their phone, download it again, make another TikTok account. It's very complicated thing, controlling the internet. Authorize access to all devices per TIOS, even if it's not installed. That's from Mike Barrett. Yeah, I'm sure I can police their devices. Guys, I'd rather just talk to them. Give them some level of privacy. I don't want to censor them. I don't want my kids. Look, it's really important. I feel that my kids have some leeway. Okay. Look, when I was young, I was a really bad kid. Okay. When I was young, I did a lot of bad things. But I think it helped me mature. As I got older, I wasn't interested in those bad things. I wasn't as fascinated with what it's like on the other side of the curtain. I'd gone to the other side of the curtain, And I realized, okay, I understand why they're bad now. I got a taste of it. I just don't want my kids to go too far, because it is part of growing up. Nobody's going to have this perfect life, or very few people are going to have this perfect life where everything went well and they never did one single bad thing. No, that's not true. People err, people make mistakes, people grow, people learn. And listen, I remember like Andrew Tate converted to Islam. And they asked him, why did you convert to Islam? And he's like, because I seen the devil. Guys, I understand what he means by that. Like, I really do feel like I've seen evil. I've seen people do the most evil stuff. I've seen some, I'm my age. Guys, a lot of you out there listening are younger than me. You're going to see some evil stuff, guys. You're going to see some evil things. And that might very much affect you psychologically, and it affects people differently. However, believe me, evil is a real thing. So I'm not into policing my children's devices. I just want them to be, I want them to be good boys, but I know good boys are going to do bad things sometimes. You know what's fascinating to me is we haven't talked about Jake Paul versus Anderson Silva. Jake Paul fought Anderson Silva. We didn't talk about it before. We didn't talk about it after. Nobody asked me a single question. It's incredible how I heard the numbers really did bad. It's incredible how a fight like that can go completely untalked about. You'd think that it would be front page news, but it's not. I wasn't even interested in watching it. I didn't even watch it, guys. I looked at the highlights real quick. I didn't even finish the highlights. I wasn't interested in that fight at all, and I don't know why. I love Anderson Silva. I like Jake Paul's fighting. I think he's a good fighter. I just wasn't interested in that fight. I don't know why. Somebody explain it to me. Why weren't we interested about that fight? Guys, Jake Paul has proved to be a real boxer. The guy's, he's rich. He's training full time. He's athletic. Maybe he's on, well, I don't know. Here, let me state a fact. Tommy Fury's side said he refused to do VADA drug testing. That's their claim. Is it true? Well, I don't know the guy. But according to him, according to Tommy Fury's team, and it's not uncommon in boxing that they ask for testing and VADA testing. I've done it. I've done it with my fighters. I asked for VADA testing. And VADA, why we like VADA so much is because they post the results no matter what. They don't answer to nobody. They don't answer to nobody. They do the test and they post it. That's it. There is no negotiation, and they do random drug testing. Supposedly, the Fury team came on the record and said he refused drug testing. Now, why would you refuse drug testing? I don't know. That's it to answer. I wonder if anybody has his answer to that, because I know that it was publicly alleged. Look, I think he's hardworking. He's got the grit. He's got talent. He's doing really well in the last few years. He's really gotten a lot better. But if you look at his first fight, that was 4 years ago, maybe, whatever. The progression is suspicious a little bit, but maybe because he's so great. Maybe not. Okay, there are a lot of drugs in sports that we know. And in my opinion, if you're drug-free, you should be more than happy to indulge anybody in a VADA test. You give a little blood, you give a little urine. That's it. It's not complicated. Not complicated. I would say it probably cost, if they had to pay it out of pocket, it would be a drop in the bucket. Maybe it cost them like 20 G's. 20 G's. You put everybody's mind at ease. And there are ways to get around it on top of it. Like, not easy. Don't get me wrong, not easy. But there are guys who take the chance and try to get around it, and they get away with it. How do we know that? Because when they used to do testing 20 years ago, they take a B sample. Now the B samples are tested, and they found out the guy was on drugs. He beat the test. 20 years from now, we're going to check today's B samples, and guess what? That's what they say. They say every time there's a new way to catch us, there's a new way to run and hide. So it's a cat and mouse game. It's a cops versus robbers. As the cops get more sophisticated, so do the robbers. Likewise with drug testing. Andrew Tate and Jake would make headlines. That's from that age. You know what? I'm sure it would, but I don't know. I think it's time for Jake to fight a guy who's a ranked guy in boxing. Something similar to his skill level, and make a fair fight. Not always a novelty fight. I think novelty fights are cool, but you can't just do your whole career novelty fights. I think that's what's killing it. I think if you beat a couple of good boxers, then he fights another guy who's a novelty fight. It could excite us. But I don't know why I wasn't interested in watching that fight. I'm not sure why. Hey, Coach, did you know that Pereira became a Muslim? That's from the Improvist. Yes, I did know that. Absolutely, I did. What do you mean, Coach, when you say a good boxer? I think, look, he's a competent boxer, guys. He's learned the skills. I think, look, he's just doing it 24 hours a day. He's bringing in good trainers, or he's traveling to places where there's good trainers, and he's just training all day long, and that's all he has to do for a living. The guy's rich. He wakes up in the morning, does boxing, goes to bed, wakes up, boxes. Then he fights a guy who he's bigger than, or a guy who's old, or like he's smart. He's a smart kid. He's not dumb. A guy who's past his prime. He's finding the right picks, the right fights, and he's making a ton of money. This is not a critique at all. I admire the guy. I think that's fantastic. Make your money. And I like the fact that he's trying to give it back to fighters. I like it. I have no problem with him at all. I don't necessarily like. I'm not a fan of his videos. Like, I don't watch his videos. I don't know much about him. I'm not saying his videos are good or bad. I've never watched them. I've only seen his fighting. I've seen very little of his other stuff. The guy's a good fighter. We gotta respect him. He beat Tyrone Woodley. He beat Anderson Silva. The guy's a good fighter. That's what I mean. He's an effective fighter. Do you think any fight the fights are rigged? That's from Anonymous. No, not at all, guys. It's really impossible. Like it's like really difficult to rig a fight, man. I'm telling you, it's so risky. First of all, if anybody knows, they're gonna blow the whistle. Some guy's gonna come out of the woodwork later, show proof that a fight. Like, it's such a dangerous thing. They don't do that. Nobody does that, guys. I don't know I don't know of any rigged fights at all. Maybe if I go through fights in Japan, I think one or two maybe would have been rigged, and it was quite obvious. And rigged fights don't. It's not done. I don't think it's done. If it's done, it's a major risk on that athlete's name. Major risk. Do you think losing isn't as bad now for UFC? I don't know what you mean by losing. Who's losing? Coach, who would win, Ferguson or Hooker? I would pick Hooker. That's from Youngju. I would definitely pick Hooker now. I saw a picture of Ferguson in a Yale t-shirt. Sorry, a Harvard t-shirt. Supposedly studying in Harvard. I would love some explanation on that. How the hell is he in Harvard? How did that work? I don't know. It just looked hilarious. It could be between two fighters only, no outsiders involved. That's from Tuck City. Okay, imagine you're trying to rig a fight. When are you going to tell the other guy you want to rig it? Okay, I walk up to him and I meet him on the streets and say, hey, let's rig a fight. How do I know, like, that guy's being honest? Maybe he's not going to cooperate with me. How would you develop that? How would you build that confidence? Well, you maybe want to put it on paper. You can't put it on paper. How could you take his word for it? How could you take his word? Well, go down in the first, I'm going to give you $100 million. Well, we have to transfer money. You'd have to put it in trust. We'd have to go see a lawyer and say, hey, if I lose this fight, the lawyer would have to say, okay, well, I'm going to hold it in trust. And what circumstances do I give the money over to this person? Oh, he has to lose a fight against me. Well, that's illegal. A lawyer's going to be like, hey, wait a second. This is a fraud. Like, how would you put the money in trust? You'd have to find a crooked lawyer. The opponent would be like, hey, I have to trust that crooked lawyer is going to be honest with me. He's not. You know the lawyer's crooked. How do you know they're not going to put the money in trust? Him and that lawyer are buddies. He knocks you out in front of the world. You let him knock you out. And then they walk away with the money. And then you're like, hey, it was rigged. They paid me to take a fall, and there's no proof of it, guys. It's not that simple. Hey, wink, wink, take the fall. I'll give you some money. Well, when do I get this money? The only way you really could do it is the guys, win or lose, you get $1 million. Win or lose, I get $1 million. Why would I want to lose? Hey, we had a verbal agreement behind the closed doors. On fight night, I changed my mind. I'm getting that $1 million regardless. That money's with the commission. The commission is going to pay me. I'm not going to take a dive. That's what I'm saying, guys. It doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense. The commission is holding the money. Jake Paul's not writing me a personal check. He won those fights, guys. We got to get over it. We got to get over your disbelief. The guy is good enough to beat who he beat. He's a good boxer. I'm not saying he's the best boxer. I'm not saying he's going to beat Canelo tomorrow, but he's a good boxer. Like Bruce Willis in Pulp Fiction. That's from Donnie Brasco. Good point. Coach, the mafia used to rig boxing matches. That's from Jared Pierce. Yeah, because you're gonna be sleeping with the fishes if you don't take the fall. Do you think that's what's happening? Do you think Jake Paul is like, hey guys, I'm gonna give you the cement boots if you don't take a fall? No, not at all. Not at all. Not at all. Okay. The mafia would come, knock on your door, tell you, be a good boy, go down in the first, we're betting the house on you, and if you don't, we're gonna fill you full of bullet holes. I don't think any of that is going on. Coach, are you ever unhappy? You seem like someone who has a beautiful life. That's from Denzel. Well, okay, guys, I'm going to end it on that because it's getting super late. And Denzel, thank you. I appreciate it. Guys, everybody has ups and downs. Nobody's life is a perfect movie. It's not true. You know, sometimes people like to try to give off they have a perfect life. You know, I find that there's so much of that on the internet. Like, you look at somebody's Instagram, you're like, wow, this guy's life is so amazing. Oh, my God. It's like the greatest life ever. I don't believe it. Like, I see people, like, they're out and they're like this. They're just getting content for their Instagram. Guys, when you're out and you're having fun, yeah, you might take out your phone a little bit just to make a memory. But you're not constantly on your phone trying to get the perfect content to put online. Like, I feel people are giving the appearance. They're so good at giving the appearance of joy. Which is ironic because that's like not the way to be happy. I feel like people are putting up such a facade of joy online. Oh, look how happy. I just ate the best thing. I just went to the best thing. I just had the best experience. I'm so happy. I don't believe it. I don't think it's authentic. I think some people are happy, yeah. But nobody's that happy, man. Nobody's that happy. Guys, I wake up in the morning. I'm too tired, man. I don't want to go to practice. I have to go to practice. Like, I have hard things to do in my life. And ultimately, yes, I'm happy. Yes. But nobody is just constantly having positive experiences. Not at all. I have headaches and problems just like everybody else. I don't care how rich you are. You know, they say more money, more problems. It's true, guys. It's true. Now, my life is not a mess either, okay? I'm very well organized. I'm very calculated. But no, it's not true that people are never down. It's normal. However, I will tell you that the vast majority of my experience is positive. Now, some people, we have an existential question. We say, look, if your life is more negative than positive, some people think that merits killing yourself. Listen to this, okay? Some thinkers say, look, if your life is a net negative, you have more negative experiences than positive experiences, you're justified in killing yourself. This is, in philosophy, some people make this argument. I think it's a really bad argument. Because how do you know that, okay, this part of your life was more net negative than positive, but the next chapter of your life is way better? That's how I see my problems. Okay, every time I have a problem or a downtime, I always think, hey, there's good times coming ahead. This is just a bad time. It's not the entire book. It's just one chapter. I'm going to tough it out. I'm going to push through, and there's something positive. That's where I keep my thoughts always. There's something good coming. There's always something good. And I always find that when something bad happens to people, like for instance, Adesanya lost now, I bet you there's so many haters out there just nailing him with insults, and they're just jealous. They're angry. They're frustrated. So they want to let it out on him. That's the kind of person I try to avoid being at all times. Now, that doesn't mean you can't critique somebody. When you critique somebody, you got to be academic, fair. You're not just unloading your emotions on somebody. I don't mind being critiqued. I don't mind being cross-examined. I don't mind, but when somebody unloads their emotions on me, I feel bad for them. I feel like that's not the way to happiness. They want to feel better about themselves by being angry with other people. So what I'm trying to say is, one, look, don't believe in the facade. People have a pristine life. It's not true. I'm admitting, I definitely don't try to give up that facade, but I definitely don't have a pristine life. I have difficulties like everybody else. But I'm always positive that something good is coming. Something is good. Now, I would tell you, look, my life has been far more positive experiences than negative experiences. But also, when I see somebody down, I think, hey, something's good going to come their way. I try to be positive towards them. It's not time to unleash your burden. Be good with others. Be good with others. Make sure your philosophies are intact. Your paradigms are intact. Your way of seeing the world is intact. Guys, I live by one mantra that I hold very dearly. I always say, look, the great pleasure, two of the most greatest pleasures in life, not the greatest, but two of the most greatest pleasures in life is learning something and teaching something to somebody. You improved yourself, you feel amazing. When you learn something, you feel amazing. I improved myself. And I helped improve someone else. That feels amazing because you have that connection with people after that. I love when I see my old students. I haven't seen them in years. They come back, they visit me, they come say hello. I made an impact in their life. We have a relationship. We care for one another. Even though maybe now they're older, they have a wife and kids, they don't do jiu-jitsu no more, they don't kickbox. But still, I bump into them or sometimes they come to visit me. I feel such happiness that I help them out in their life. They help me out in my life. This is such a great joy. These are intrinsic joys. They're not things you can buy. Okay, intrinsic joys are internal joys. This is very important. People focus today too much on extrinsic values. Things that you can buy, things that you can have, that you can. There's more to life than this. I've seen very rich people be very, very miserable. And I'll tell you because they miss these type of intrinsic values. What is it that's intrinsic? The intrinsic happiness is more important than extrinsic happiness. But I also put importance on extrinsic happiness. Having certain level of things. I like having modest amount of things, but I also don't like being broke. Okay, so there's a level of extrinsic needs that we have to accomplish. But don't make those things so important. That's where I think people shoot themselves in the foot. Okay, like I personally wouldn't be caught wearing Gucci just because it's Gucci. I don't want to wear it. Now, I don't have anything against people who wear Gucci. The only way I'd ever wear something Gucci or whatever is if I received it as a gift, then I'd want to honor the person who gave it to me by wearing it. But if I would never go in the store and exchange money for Gucci. Why? Because I believe the other shirt is just as good, not as expensive. I'm blowing up the market. I think that, hey, I'm doing something, in my opinion, guys, I don't want to judge anybody out there, but in my opinion, I'm overpaying this shirt to tell people that I have money. Look, guys, look how affluent I am. Look how much money I have. I can waste money. I can pay an extra $100 for my shirt. I got so much cheddar in the bank. And I want you guys to know about it. And then the other guy's like, hey, I want to be at that guy's status, so I'm going to lie, cheat, and steal to get extra $100 to buy that shirt so I could be on par with that guy. I feel it creates such a race to the bottom. It gets in people's heads. People are like, hey, that guy's got nice shoes, nice car. I gotta build that way. It just, Plato said it. Plato said it once. I think it's an overstatement, but he said, look, you can't be honest and rich. I don't agree with him. I think it was an overstatement, definitely. But however, there's some truth to it. A lot of rich people are dishonest, stingy, vile human beings. And that's how they got rich. It's sad. It's not the only way to get rich. However, it is unfortunately a common theme. People hustle, cheat, lie, scam to get rich. I would never do that. Personally, I would never. I could never live with myself. However, if you develop a value, if you value intrinsic experiences, you won't be tempted to do this. So for me, learning and teaching is two of the greatest pleasures. There are other great pleasures, greater even, but teaching and learning. So when you live that way, you can actually find a lot of joy with something that doesn't cost. And it doesn't cost. It costs time, energy, and goodwill. It costs time, energy, and goodwill. That's what the cost is. And the cost is greater, but so is the reward. Guys, I hope you enjoyed. I had such a great time talking with you guys as usual. The fight was fantastic. I want to commend and congratulate both men. They both put on a stellar performance. Alex Pereira, the new world champion, incredible, amazing. I don't want to say hard to believe. I totally believe he could do it. However, it was still a shocking finish. Very shocking. Guys, a pleasure. I'll see you all in the next episode. Thank you.